Hey guys, Luke here at CXP, the computer experts, and this is my review of Windows 10. And I installed this yesterday on my personal machine. I just upgraded from Windows 8.1 Professional, and this review is going to be from the perspective of a desktop user. And what I mean by that is I've got a keyboard and a mouse, dual monitor support, no touchscreens or anything like that. So if you're upgrading from Windows Vista, XP, 7, 8, 8.1 and using a desktop, this review could be quite relevant for you. But if you're going on a tablet device or touchscreen laptop, it may not be the best review because it's kind of not aimed at that type of user. Now before I start reviewing Windows 10, the only thing I need to elaborate on is that there's a problem out of the box of Windows 10 which could be serious for some users. And what it is Windows 10 by default shares your internet connection with everyone else around the world to deliver software updates to Windows updates. Essentially what it means is it's like a torrent or peer-to-peer sharing, and rather than using Microsoft servers, which will be undoubtedly overloaded at the moment, so people are trying to download updates quickly as Microsoft patches any initial faults, instead what it will do is it'll take chunks from your computer and someone else's computer and another person's and do the updates like that. And this means Windows 10 can use a lot of your internet bandwidth without you knowing it, because Microsoft don't very clearly give you this option to turn off when you're setting them up. Another problem is data usage. If you have a data cap or you're using a mobile device such as a tablet, you may only have like a 2 or 3 gigabyte limit, and this could easily push you over without knowing. So first thing I'm going to do is show you how to just disable this before I get on with the actual review. So the first thing you need to do is in the bottom right hand corner next to the clock, there is the action center. It's this little speech bubble. If you click on that and go to all settings, it will bring up the settings screen. You just need to go to updates and security, and then click the tab that says Windows Updates, and then go to advanced options. In here what we need to do is, see this option here says choose how updates are delivered. Click on this, and then we just toggle this switch off, and this means I won't do peer-to-peer sharing. It's just going to get updates just like Windows 8 and Windows 7 did. I'm going to leave this turned on for mine for now because I've got a decent connection and my bandwidth is fine and I've got unlimited data. But if you are one of these that are worried about privacy or just data usage or general speed, you might want to turn this off. Now that's done and out of the way, let's actually start off with the review. So let's exit out of this. Now Windows 10 is meant to combine the best elements of 7 and 8, so let's see if Microsoft has actually done it. And the first thing, the big hype everyone's been on about, is that the start menu's back. And here's the Windows 10 start menu. It's kind of back, and the reviews other people have said, they've actually said they really like the start menu, or it's been a nice balance, but I personally don't like it. I find it's too heavily balanced towards the Metro interface and not enough towards its additional desktop applications, which the Windows 7 start menu was 100% geared for. Now things I really like about the start menu though is I love the way it can be resized, visually it looks nice, but the problem is once you start going deeper into it and you go to, for example, to all applications, what you notice is when you start resizing it, it only resizes the Metro, and the old desktop apps are just kind of like shoved to one side. And if you're a traditional desktop user like me and you have 18 years worth of programs backed up from like Windows 95 all the way through to now, you'll find 95% of your applications are going to be traditional desktop apps compared to the 5% you use for the Metro. And there's no way of expanding this bar over 2 columns, for example, and I find that like the space in between them is too far apart, so you do a lot more scrolling than you have to find like the part you need to find. So it just feels like that 75% of the space is devoted to 5% of the applications, and it seems quite unbalanced to me from that perspective. So I will say that the start menu is definitely better than Windows 8, but I still prefer Windows 7. Now I'm going to show you a way at the end of this review of how to make it more like Windows 7, more traditional, which is what I personally am using, and makes Windows 10 so much more usable. And that's using a program called Stardock Start 10. It's $4.99, that's about £3 or £3.50 in British money. So if you wait till the end of the video, I'm going to show you some setup things I do to kind of make Windows 10 more usable to a traditional desktop user. But let's forget that for now, and let's carry on looking at the bits Microsoft implemented into Windows 10. So the first thing we're going to look at now is the updated Metro apps that Microsoft have introduced, which are a lot better than Windows 8. So let's start off by looking at something like, let's open the weather app. And the first thing you'll notice compared to Windows 8 and 8.1 is that the applications are now windowed. So they sit within the desktop and they don't take up an entire screen. That's much better because this allows you to stack multiple applications on top of each other. So let's open the health and fitness app over the top of this. When it finally loads. So we can kind of just like, use them as normal desktop applications, and you don't really tell the difference, which is great, because if we open a traditional desktop app such as Word over the top of it, we can't tell the difference in Metro and desktop, and that's great. It's nice and seamless. And some of the applications have also been updated. For example, the weather app now is, it's designed to be scrolled vertically rather than horizontally, and it's much more natural to use with a mouse than going and scrolling horizontally, such as the health and fitness app is. So definitely give this a massive thumbs up over Windows 8. There's nothing that's... every single thing is much better than Windows 8 was in terms of the modern UI Metro apps. Now the next function I want to look at is this one down here, and this is called Task View. If you've ever used a Mac, you might be familiar with the expose function, and this is exactly what this does. It shows you all the apps open on the screen. Now what you can't see on this is I have a left screen connected as well. You're just looking at my right desktop. And it shows you exactly which applications open on your left screen and which ones open on your right screen, which is really nice if you use multiple applications on multiple desktops. You don't get lost where they all are. Also, we get the opportunity to shut any apps we want. And finally, another thing that's really useful is we have the option to add new desktops in here. So if we click on desktop 2 now, we see all our applications are gone. They're still running in the background on desktop 1. But if you're working on one and maybe doing media or something on the other, it makes it a lot more useful, especially if you have a laptop or limited screen space. So I definitely like the stuff Microsoft implemented here. This is really stuff that is a definite improvement all over all previous versions of Windows. Another major feature that Microsoft has been going on about is the introduction of Cortana. If you're not aware of what Cortana does, she's like Siri but for the desktop. Or if you've ever used a Windows phone, you may be familiar with what she's like. I think she's actually from the Xbox games. So anyway, the first thing with Cortana is you'll notice we have a little orb down here, and this is the Cortana orb. Or perhaps if you're more using the larger taskbar buttons, you may find that she has an actual search bar, for example like this. Regardless of what you do, it's this initial setup thing I think that's very useful to enable, and that's the Hey Cortana function. And what that does, it just basically allows it to respond to your voice without having to click on her. So if you want to do this, just click in a box, go to the second tab here. This is the notebook, and then click on settings. And click on your settings, you'll see a Hey Cortana, and this is let Cortana respond to Hey Cortana. So just click on, and what you'll find is after this is Hey Cortana, sing me a song.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, do.
So she just responds to your voice, so I just happen to touch her. So let's do a couple of tests of her and let's see what we think of her. Hey Cortana, set an appointment.
Okay, when is your event?
Tomorrow.
When is the event?
5 PM.
What should I call it?
Call James.
Okay, I can add call James to your calendar for today at 5.
Let's cancel this, I don't want to call James tomorrow at 5. Let's try a couple of other things. Hey Cortana, what's the weather like tomorrow?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
My bad. If you don't say anything quickly, she actually kind of just switches herself off, so I'd rather there be a bit more delay. You've got to think of what you got to say very quickly. So, hey Cortana, what's the weather like tomorrow?
The forecast for tomorrow shows partly sunny skies with a high of 18 and a low of 14.
And finally, hey Cortana, launch Microsoft Excel. And this is a problem I found with Cortana. The biggest thing is she won't open or launch applications. Now, Microsoft Excel is installed on this computer, as you can see right here, and instead of launching it, she just opens up a Bing search. So that's kind of weird to me. I'd rather be able to directly dictate what to do. And here's another thing, for example, where she's lacking in stuff is, hey Cortana, set a timer for 10 minutes. Again, she can't set timers or stuff like that. So we just get another Bing search, and this is really basic things which I thought that she should be able to do at this point, and she just can't do. However, the open up this Bing search here allows me to show Edge, which is the new browser. Some of you might have heard this being called Spartan in the development. Microsoft now call it Edge, which I think is a better name. It's designed to replace Internet Explorer, although Internet Explorer is still installed, and I've got a feeling it's going to be phased out pretty soon. Honestly, first impressions is it looks nice and clean, but I can't find any major killer features that make me want to go from Google Chrome. A killer feature of Chrome I like is that I've got devices on, for example, iOS, on Windows, on Android, and Google Chrome between them works pretty much the same. We sign in with the same accounts, we have all the history related over, our tabs, our search history, everything. And until this starts being able to go cross-platform, I'm not going to change to Google Chrome. But one neat feature that I've noticed is the notes section. If you're a student and you're taking notes for something, this could be really good. I'm not at the moment, so it's of limited functionality to me really, but we can, if you have a graphics tablet, this will be a lot more useful, just because you'll be able to type text here, change your colour, change your thickness, get a highlighter and highlight bits. Again, you can change the colour of your highlighter. So this could be very useful to students, and we can even add text boxes. And then finally, when we're done, we can actually save them and we can send it directly to Microsoft OneNote. So yeah, that's quite a nice feature if you're doing lots of note taking or compiling stuff like essays or projects. But until it's like I said, until a cross-platform functionality becomes available, I don't think I'm going to change from Google Chrome. Thankfully, one thing that I'm very happy about in Windows 10 is the removal of the charms bar that was introduced in Windows 8. And this was so annoying if you had two desktops, because you try and move from one screen to the other and you'd catch the bottom of the screen or something and the charms bar would come up and it just got in the way all the time. So this is totally gone now, and thankfully Microsoft replaced it with the new Action Center down here. And this is a much better way. You have to click on it to bring it up, and we have notifications and we have access to our settings and everything like that. If you have a tablet computer, you'll have different settings available to you, such as auto rotate, maybe perhaps network, Bluetooth. But yeah, it's definitely a much better improvement over the features implemented in Windows 8. One thing I have a problem with is, for example, when we click on all settings here, and this is a problem Windows 8 had and Windows 8.1, and I thought after all these updates that Microsoft would have fixed it by now, is we have multiple versions of the same apps running. Like, why do we have a settings app here, and then, for example, if we type in here, we have the old control panel. It just seems completely weird to have the two apps like this. I don't understand why we need a traditional one and then a more limited, control panel on the right-hand side, a newer version. Just combine them into one and give us like a different view that perhaps works nicer with touchscreen. I just don't understand why it feels like we're still running two operating systems at the same time. Perhaps not to the extent Windows 8 does, but it's still there and it's still a problem, I find. But I did see a neat feature then, which I should show you, is when we do the Windows Snap function of Windows 7 introduced, the screen snap, we hold on like the we can either use like the Windows key and push an arrow like left or right to snap it to one side of the screen, or we can just drag it to one side and it fills up there. Now, one thing that's really nice about this is that Windows gives you the opportunity to snap another device, another program to the other side of the screen just by clicking it. That's really nice, and we can actually snap 4 applications once each quarter as well if we want to. So like this, and it just works really nicely, I find, and that's a definite improvement over Windows 7 and Windows 8. Another feature I do tend to like is the overall theme. I like a dark theme on my computers. We found when we tried to make the taskbar dark on Windows 8 that all the top of the screen go dark and the name of the app we got open would disappear. Thankfully all that's gone now. So yeah, I definitely like that. But what I do find is some of the applications look a bit basic. This looks very boring in my opinion. It's just a grey slab. The icons I think look a bit simple and childish. I've definitely preferred Windows 8's icons. Which gets me on to looking at icons. Let's click down here, for example, on the File Explorer, which in Windows 8 took us directly to what used to be my computer and used to show you the documents and your drives at the same time. On Windows 8 instead, it opens up the quick access bar. Now we still have access to stuff like desktop downloads, or frequent folders as they call it, and we have access to recent files. But I much prefer this PC view which we had from Windows 8. It was just much more useful, I found, to go stuff to, you know, if we want our quick access, we can just drag stuff up here. Unfortunately, if we drag it down to our desktop, sorry, our taskbar, it just becomes a folder within here and we can't actually directly replace it. Well, we can, but it's a bit more complicated than just dragging and dropping, and I will show you at the end how to get that old view back, which I find much more useful for a desktop. But yeah, again, we've got all these new icons here and they just seem a little bit basic and a little bit boring, so I'm maybe going to try and find a way to replace these with the old icons. Visually, one thing I do love the improvements of though is the new calendar down in the bottom right hand corner. You know, this is something desktop users use a lot and it just seems a lot neater and a lot nicer to use. So I'd definitely give that a big thumbs up. It's a definite improvement and visually looks very, very nice. There's one final thing I want to look at before I wrap this review up and just show you how to make it more usable for desktop, and the final thing is the taskbar. Let's exit out of these apps. It's still the same one we have in Windows 8, but I want to show you because I think it's so great the way it works. So, you know, it's much better than the Windows 7 one if you're upgrading from that, because the apps and the background processes are combined into one screen. We have really detailed performance graphs which look beautiful and they're very, very useful. So much information in here. We also have the startup, which replaces running msconfig in the run command. So we can disable and enable startup applications here instead. So that's really nice, really easy to use. So definitely I love the fact that they've retained the task manager exactly like Windows 8, because I found it pretty much perfect the way it was. So there we have it, there's Windows 10, and you know, overall I quite like it. I think it's mostly a good improvement over Windows 8 and 8.1, but I am disappointed it's not got the potential that could have been, and part of me still really likes Windows 7, and you know, a lot of people hated it, but I quite like Vista as well, and you know, I really liked XP at the time, and I kind of feel like we should be heading back towards that direction a bit. You know, it'd be nice to have like a Windows Classic mode to emulate the old type of operating systems a lot of us have come to use and know and love and become very adept at using. So for more like seasoned Windows users, it can be a bit of a shock sometimes. But yeah, I mean, it's a free download, so if you have Windows 8, 8.1 and using a desktop, I would say definitely go for it. There's not much to lose. If you have Windows 7, I'd say keep watching the rest of the video because I'm going to show you how to make Windows 10 a lot more usable just for the next couple of minutes, and perhaps then decide from what you can make Windows 10 into and decide whether then it's a worthwhile upgrade from Windows 7. Right, the first thing I'm going to show you is how to get a more traditional start menu back, and we do have to download an application which unfortunately is paid for, but it's only $4.99, so it's very cheap, and you can do a 30-day free trial. So you know, you can test drive thoroughly to see if you like it first, but for like £3.50 it's definitely worth it. So open up your web browser and type in a Google search, go to Google and type in stardock start 10, do a search for that and just click on the first link and you'll be taken to the page. You can just click get it now, you can do a download and just do a 30-day free trial first before you pay for it, just to see if you like it. Once it's downloaded, it should install and configure itself. I'll just launch it from here anyway. And what Start 10 does, it gives us loads of control over the start menu. It's actually start menu replacement. Now I'm using the traditional Windows 10 style for the likes of this review, which shows us like this. But instead of what we can do is we have two other styles. We click a Windows 7 style, which gives us the very traditional Windows 7 one we know. It's just a bit more squared, like it looks more like Windows 8 style of like design language, but it works exactly like the Windows 7 one. The full functionalities there, works really, really well. I'm not going to go too much into that because you know how the Windows 7 one works. We can alter stuff like our icons on the bottom left to whichever we want. I'll just leave the default Windows 10 one for now. And we also have a modern style which I quite like. It's very similar functionality to Windows 7, but it just visually fits very nice with Windows 10, and this is the one I tend to use because it works exactly the same as Windows 7, but it addresses all the faults I find with the Windows 10 start menu. It's geared towards like 95% towards desktop apps and 5% towards modern UI apps. We just have an icon here to go to that, so it's very out of the way. So I really like the fact that that's implemented like that. The next thing I want to do is replace this icon here, so this link to the file explorer, so it goes into the traditional this PC instead. Now there's two ways to do this. If you've installed the start menu, you can just click this PC and drag it down here to the taskbar and it will pin like that. And when you click on it, it goes directly to the page we used to have. If you haven't downloaded it, what I will say is, let me just go back to the Windows 10 menu for now. If you're just sticking with the Windows 10 menu, this is how to enable this, at least how I found. Right click on your desktop, go to personalize, and then we go down to themes, and then we see desktop icon settings. When we click on that, we have the option to enable and disable certain desktop icons. So the one I want to enable is computer, and that's the this PC icon. So click apply and see we have this PC here. Now what we can do now is we can actually pin this. Well, actually, I'm just going to click unpin for now just to show you how it is, because I had it enabled anyway. But you normally by default get this view, you right click on it and you click pin to start, and what that does is when you launch the Windows 10 start menu, we will find in here that has this PC icon, and now we can drag and drop this link onto the taskbar and it works just like the traditional link used to. So exit out of this, and the final thing I want to show you, because I don't want to go too much in depth in this, is just changing all the default applications so that it runs in desktop mode. So what I just need to do is click in the bottom right on the action center, go to all settings. Sorry, that went off. So go to all settings, and then go click on system, and then go to default apps. And you just want to change some of these, because this is a problem I was relating to before when we tend to have multiple versions of like the same app. We have a Metro app and a desktop app, like the Photos app for example. I always want mine to open in Windows Photo Viewer. I don't want the modern photo app, so just click stuff like that. For example, a video players now, film and TV, and you know, I personally tend to use VLC or Windows Media Player and the web browser, so it's changed all the defaults by itself. So I want to go back to Google Chrome, Music Player. I don't want to use this Groove Music. I want to use Windows Media Player for my music. So just change the default stuff like that, and then just exit out of that, and you know, Windows then should be a lot more usable and a lot more how you were used to using it. So finally, let's just go back to that start 10. Let's enable my modern, the modern style. So personally, I want to get rid of this search bar down here as well, so I can use the small taskbar buttons. And this is visually how I like my one set up. So now you know we have a traditional start menu. We have, I can get rid of the old icons as well, don't need this now. We can unpin the folder view from there because we've got this PC instead, go directly there like we used to. So it just works so much better. So, you know, I'm going to do a full video on this anyway, but it's a quick guide. This is how I make Windows 10 look a lot more like Windows 7 and work a lot more like old versions of Windows used to. Anyway guys, thank you for watching this. If you liked this video and you found it useful, please hit the subscribe, leave a comment in the section below, or click the like button. If you disliked it, just click dislike and please tell me why. Any feedback is valuable feedback to us. So thank you for watching, I hope you liked it, and we hope to see you again very, very soon.